talking about the Week 11 and reviewing Week 10. It's been a fun, interesting week, I would say. Wouldn't you say so, McKay?
I would say that might almost be a bit of an understatement. Yes, we may not have had, some big, amazing game of the year like we did last week, but there have been some very outstanding moments that we're excited to talk about this week. There's a lot to say here.
Definitely, without a doubt. Well, McKay, do you want to give our usual opening spiel?
Yep, because we're getting ready to dive into it. Everyone, welcome to our fifth episode of our podcast for the fans. Here we will be discussing the scoops, the stats, and upcoming games in the National Football League. Our hope is as this podcast grows in viewership, we will branch out into some other sports, particularly the NBA. But for us here at the beginning, let's talk about the amazing sport of football and how this current 2019 through 2020 season of the NFL will play out. For those of you who are listening, thank you for joining us on this fun little experience we're starting out here. We highly encourage participation throughout the entirety of the podcast. We love it when people comment on their thoughts and opinions as we discuss the previous games of the past week as well as the upcoming games that we will also be diving into and discussing the possibilities, predictions, stats, anything like that. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
All right, so I say we get on into it.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to start with, as we usually do, we usually start with Steelers versus Browns with our Thursday night football game. And Shane, with this game, we could have talked about, maybe there were some issues with the Steelers offense having some real trouble and that the Browns won a really big game for them because it was a division rival. But all of that is going to be thrown to the wayside because of what happened at the very end of the game.
The very end of the game is probably going to be one of the most controversial, one of the most discussed things that has happened in an NFL game in the past couple of years, I would say.
I agree. For those of you who aren't familiar, although we hope most of you are, because I feel like I saw this on more than just any of my sports-related social media. I literally saw it everywhere. But for those of you who maybe were living under a rock, what had happened is towards the very end, I think, Shane, within the last 10 seconds of the fourth quarter, right?
It was something like that. It was getting down to the very end of the fourth quarter, and some people got a little too emotional during that game.
Right, exactly. What we're talking about here, of course, is Myles Garrett, the impressive Cleveland Browns defensive end, getting a little too feisty with Mason Rudolph, ended up taking Mason Rudolph's own helmet off and clubbing him in the head with it. And, of course, it being suspended indefinitely. If the Browns were to make the playoffs this year, he will not be joining them. And there were also a few other suspensions both on the Steelers and on the Browns side that were handed out as well. And honestly, the biggest thing is of this fight. I mean, this is just something that, Shane, you said it perfectly. It's going to go down in history. It's just one of these moments of disgust in the NFL. I mean, when I saw it, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, are you kidding me? You could have seriously hurt someone there.
I think the thing, and here's something that we overlook at. So we gotta look at some of the players that got suspended. So there was another Browns player. I don't remember his name.
Joke, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I
He got
don't even
suspended
attempt
for,
to
one game? It was like
Yep.
one game. Mike Pouncey, the Steelers center, who, from what I have heard about him, he is a very respectful, awesome player on and off the field. He got suspended for 3 games. What is interesting about all of this, though, Mason Rudolph, not suspended at all, and it is rumored that he said some racial slurs, a few other things, and he was actually, in a couple of videos I saw just reviewing it, he was actually trying to pull Garrett's helmet off first.
Exactly. One thing I'd like to say, though, just about Pouncey really quick before I go into what you were talking about, Shane. Yes, I definitely agree. He's more of like one of those really good guys. He also was the only guy who, didn't get penalized for that false start in their very first week 1 game where the entire offensive line jumped the ball before.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Anyway, besides that, no, but he really is. He is a really good guy. And from what he was saying, he was really just going into protection mode there, just trying to make sure that Garrett did not cause serious harm to Mason Rudolph. But Shane, you're right. I watched some of the videos too, and that's a big controversial topic here too, is why did Mason Rudolph not get a suspension as well, at least for one game? Because it did look like in some instances that Mason Rudolph was the instigator. It looked like I've heard things about where he was kind of jarring at him, looked like he did try and take Myles Garrett's helmet off. I understand that he was probably a little frustrated with the fact that the Steelers did so terrible in that game, and it was towards the end. There was even talk that Mason Rudolph's knee had actually hit Myles Garrett in the groin area. I mean, the list goes on and on. I guess sort of our question is here, and then sound off in our chat bar here. Do you think Mason Rudolph should have been suspended too? Why or why not? Shane, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think Mason Rudolph
personally think that he was just as much fault as the Nets guy? It is very, and I just want to say, it is highly, almost completely unheard of that a defensive end like Myles Garrett, not saying Myles Garrett the person, Myles Garrett as a player, any defensive player, to go after a quarterback like the way he did is very unnatural. Usually there's something that goes on to cause that situation, to instigate it. But from what we know, we have no idea what happened. It's just all of a sudden Myles Garrett flipped a switch and decided he was going to go full Wolverine and attack this guy.
I agree, Shane. The thing that we're trying to establish here is it's not like we are condoning Myles Garrett's actions. But I will say one thing. He's usually a pretty stand-up guy. He's not Vontez Burfict. He's not going out and hitting guys helmet-to-helmet contact or anything like that. It's just for some reason, he just lost his cool here for a second. And the question is what made him lose his cool? Because, honestly, it takes two to tango. I don't understand how Myles Garrett all of a sudden could have just been playing football, and next thing you know, it's turning into a fight in the hood, and Mason Rudolph over here did nothing. I don't understand how Myles Garrett would have just snapped like that unless Mason Rudolph had said or done something.
And I want to just point out this as well, and this will be like my last argument and anything about this. It's you usually see these kind of things where like teams go after each other, especially with the division rivalry game. Things get heated, especially towards the end, especially when one team's dominating the other. But it's usually the losing team getting so irritated with the winning team that they go after the winning team. We saw the winning team in the closing moments of this game, where they were going to win no matter what, go after the losing team? That is what is way weird about this entire situation.
Yeah, it was a little odd. There's a lot of questionable things that had happened with this situation because, again, Shane, we didn't even talk about our predictions here, which I'll just say off really quickly, but we didn't even talk about it because literally the only thoughts that we wanted to talk about was that fight. I had, just for prediction's sake, I said 24-16 Steelers. You said 17-10 Steelers. The Browns actually won the game 21-7, which was a crucial win for the Browns. They are now 4-6. Yes, it's likely that they won't have a playoff spot, but it was a good win because it was against a division rival, and it really messed around with the Steelers' playoff hopes and chances.
Yeah, because that knocks the Steelers down a bit, and now they're in a fight.
Yes, exactly, and now they've lost a key player.
Yeah, I think the Steelers got an uphill battle, and it might honestly come to the point where, sorry Steelers, you guys might be done for this season. Either somebody in the AFC South or the Raiders even might take that wild card spot. But
we don't know for sure, but it really hit the Steelers hard. First of all, losing this game in the way that they did. I understand that Juju Smith-Schuster was not playing, which would have been he's a really great receiver for Rudolph to hand the ball to, but also losing Pouncey for 3 games. That's not good.
Yeah, we also got a comment who is actually my dad. He says that it looks like Rudolph kicked him in the privates when he was sacked, which
is what I said, yep.
Yeah, which is what we said. In all honesty, having been hit there before when I, growing up doing sports and stuff, it's never fun getting hit there, and it can sometimes trigger a man. So, anyways, I think we talked enough about the Browns versus Steelers, gave our spin on everything, I think we can move on to our Nets game. What do you
We
think?
probably should, because we could probably talk a lot more about this, but maybe we should just move on.
All right, so Jets versus Redskins. Predictions to get them out of the way. You said 28-26 Jets. I said 14-9 Redskins. Final score 34-17 Jets.
The only things that I have to say with this, Shane, is it seems like the Jets are playing better football. Now, I don't want to say, oh, the Jets are doing amazing, because again, they're beating teams that are just not good. Everyone knows the Redskins they're not good this year. Um, but they're doing it in a bit more of a convincing fashion, if you ask me. Sam Darnold has kind of found his rhythm again, and they're kind of starting to show that there is more. The Jets are not just this awful football team like we had suspected them of being at the beginning of this season. They're still not great, but they're doing better.
They're starting to shake off some of that rust and get into the real football rhythm. Thing is, it might be a little bit too late for them. But who
Yeah.
knows? Next year, they could be a real dark horse.
It could be. It really just depends on maybe some changes that they make in the offseason, whether that's adding, keeping or getting rid of Le'Veon Bell, or their coach as well. There's been some talk about that, whether he should stay or go. But we'll just have to see how things go with them in the near future, especially with the development of QB Sam Darnold. Shane, we should probably move on next to our next division rival, though, and this is the one where I'm going to let you take the reins on this with the Jaguars versus Colts game. Let's hear it.
I'm not even sure if I want to take the reins on this one. So, I just want to start out. We talked about how like Foles was coming back and how what we thought, and I personally said I would prefer to have Minshew in.
Did.
Main reason. I'm not saying that Foles is a bad quarterback. Main reason, I know how bad our offensive line is. They're the reason he got hurt in the first place. Minshew is a lot more elusive, and I was watching parts of that game, and Foles was getting hit and pressured within seconds. That line just falls apart, and he's not a scrambling quarterback. He is a very much pocket passer, and when you don't have an offensive line protect you, it's not good to have that kind of QB in behind center. And also, I want to note the other thing, and probably another big reason we lost. Two other big things that we lost. Um, could not stop the Colts' run offense. Our run defense was not there, and we barely used our running back, who is one of the best in the league. He's like in the top 6, and we barely used him at all. All I gotta say is Colts definitely deserve this win. They are real contenders. I have a lot of respect for them. But that's basically all I had to say. There wasn't too many highlights other than Foles' return. But the AFC South is going to be a close race in the end.
I think it's going to be the closest one of them all, with the Texans losing this week, the Titans and the Colts catching back up. And Shane, the Jaguars are not that far behind. They're behind, but they're not that far behind.
Yeah, they're only like 2 games behind. They still have a fighting chance, but it's going to be an uphill battle, and they need to get things figured out right away. And me personally, I think it's time for a change in the coaching staff.
You think Marone should go? Is that what you're saying?
I think a lot of the front office would go. They're very. What's the best way to put this without completely saying that my team is trash? The coaching is very hands off, play it safe, and do the same thing over and over again. It's the
Right.
definition of insanity. You do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, and it never comes through. That's where I feel like everything's come through. We have a great running back, but all he ever does when we do a run play, he runs it right up the middle. If we're running the ball, you know exactly where it's going.
It's true. It's very straightforward. Shane, my only other questions that I have for you, and this is just a little something to kind of get everyone's brains turning about the Jaguars by asking you as one of their deep fans. My first question of which is who should be your starting quarterback for the rest of the season? And a follow-up question with that is who should be your starting quarterback next season? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on this, and I can get a lot of hate for this, but bring it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to defend my answer. So, this is very situational. Right now, I say leave Nick Foles in. And it's going to surprise you, but the reasoning why, you guys
Mhm.
just put him in, pulled Minshew out, to do an immediate 180 back again, it's going to throw off the entire offense. It's going to show that the coaching has no idea what's going on with the team. It's going to confuse the players. Foles would be best for this season.
I think the coaching staff does understand that, which is why Gardner Minshew will probably not play another game this season.
Next season, though, I don't want to make too early of a prediction on this or too early of a call on this. Foles is really good when he has time in the pocket. If
Mhm.
we do not bolster up our offensive line, throw Minshew in, let him take over. If we bulk up our line a little bit more, where Foles is able to have that extra 2-3 seconds in the pocket, he should be able to find the man, and I think he would be a good starting quarterback if we have a decent line.
Definitely. More things to talk about here in the chat bar. If anyone has anything that they'd like to add, Minshew versus Foles. Who should be the starting quarterback? You've heard Shane. Me personally, I think I agree with everything that Shane has to say. It makes sense to leave Foles in, but Minshew would be very useful as a starting quarterback for next season. Provided, unless of course, that the Jaguars do bolster up their offensive line, which can keep Nick Foles inside the pocket.
But let's move on. Enough about that game that made me sad on the inside. Let's move on to Bills versus Dolphins. So, our score predictions. McKay, you said 22-19 Dolphins. You put a lot of faith in Dolphins this week.
I just thought they would have the momentum, but I was wrong.
I said 31-14 Bills. The actual score was 37-20 Bills. It's basically what I predicted, but just a
Basically, just
six
a little.
point increase on both sides.
Yeah, which is really close. So that's impressive. That was a good call on your part.
But all in
I
all,
think
go ahead.
all I was going to say is this is again I think showing really how do I put this? This is going to probably be a common theme that we're going to talk about throughout the rest of this podcast. We are starting to see a lot of teams in the NFL, the ones that are making the playoff push, the ones that are playoff worthy, pulling away from the rest of the squad, pulling away from all those other teams that don't have a winning record. And this is another example of this where the Bills are are making a statement here in a division rival game saying, yes, we are playoff contenders. Yes, we can beat someone like the Miami Dolphins, and we can do it in a very impressive fashion. We are here for the postseason. And they did exactly that. Whereas the Dolphins, as we know, we've talked about it time and time again, yes, they have 2 games, but they have a long ways to go.
Yeah, and I think the Dolphins are, or not the Dolphins, the Bills are still in that playoff contention. They're still vying for at least a wild card seat behind the Patriots. So I think that's what really pushed them over. Not too many highlights from this game, from my perspective, though.
Not really from mine either. I think we've established what remains to be seen there. The Bills are doing good. The Dolphins need work. We can move on.
All right, so we get to move on to Cowboys versus the Lions. And before we could do that, my dad commented one more time, and for when we were talking about Minshew versus Foles, he said Minshew for the 2019. So he's saying Minshew come back in, which is an interesting take, but let's move on. Cowboys versus Lions.
Okay. All right. I was reading the comments too. I hadn't checked in a while, all of a sudden I was like, oh, hey, there's stuff going on here. Hey, look at that. No, but Cowboys versus Lions. Okay, the one thing that I'd like to say here, Shane, you and I were joking about this earlier. I would just like to throw it in here. We've mentioned this several times before in our podcast, and as many of you know, Shane and I are big fans of Bleacher Report's Gridiron Heights, and their episode today was quite hilarious, where essentially they used Bill Belichick, Richard Sherman, and Lamar Jackson, asking them what other teams were good. They would show the team. So, for example, they showed the Raiders, and they're like, I think the Cowboys came up, and all 3 of them, without hesitation, said no. And it was hilarious. I loved it.
Oh, it was so great. The icing on the top, I think, was that they had the Eagles to start out, and they're like, are the Eagles good? And Bill Belichick responds with, No, but they will win their division. Then they come to the Cowboys, who are the current leaders, and all of them just say no.
Exactly. And again, maybe there's a little bit of a difference here because Cowboys fans can come on here and say, "Well, we lead the NFC East right now, and they won this game against the Lions." Sure, okay, we damn boys beat Detroit, who are without Matthew Stafford. Um, I don't really have much to say here. I mean, yes, the Cowboys did win. My prediction was 27-24. Yours was 17-14. The Cowboys won 35-27. It was a rather bit of a close game, which again, my only thing that I have to say there is Cowboys. It's the Lions without Matthew Stafford. You should have been able to do better than that with how much you're paying Zeke at this moment and how much could be paid towards Dak Prescott. But Shane, my questions here that I want to focus on, one is on the Cowboys end. Does Dak Prescott need Zeke? Because it doesn't seem like it. And two, will the Lions get Matt Stafford back this season? What do you think?
You know, for the first one, I think it's hard to say just because we haven't seen Dak Prescott complete without Zeke. Zeke is definitely a prime player in their offensive scheme, but I don't think he was the biggest player this past week. I think Dak definitely has some good, reliable receivers on his side of the ball, and he doesn't necessarily need Zeke. But I think if you take away Zeke, defenses will prepare a lot more outside of that, and that would limit Dak a lot more.
I agree with that. I mean, the nice thing is Dak does have a good amount of options between throwing the ball to Randall Cobb, to throwing the ball to Amari Cooper, and then if he wants to, he can give Zeke the opportunity to do the run game. It's actually a great offensive system that the Cowboys have, but I think you put it into perspective, Shane. If they take away the run game, other defenses can prepare for that. And the only other thing I would have to say with that is, Dallas, you have such an amazing offensive system. It looks great on paper. Why is the execution so bad?
Yeah. And then as for your second question with Matthew Stafford, do I think he'll come back this season? I hope so, but it might be for like the last game or two. And at that point, just keep him out, let him rest up, let him relax, get healthy, get better, that way we can come back next season and be more dominant.
I agree. I think it's doubtful that he will return. If he does, he could come back for like the final two games, but at that point, it's just, your playoff hopes are probably gone. You might as well just rest him and prepare him for the next season.
All right. Next game, Texans versus Ravens. Our predictions. You said 28-24 Ravens. I thought it was going to be close and said 22 Texans. Final
Look what
score is
happened.
41-7
Ooh.
Ravens. I just want to say, before we
Yeah,
do
go
anything
ahead.
else, Lamar Jackson, I think, is front-runner MVP candidate without a doubt right now.
Agreed. Russell Wilson is still really good. So is Christian McCaffrey. But the way that Lamar Jackson has been handling defenses is remarkable. He is a monster. And the thing is you can make the argument and say last week when the Ravens played Cincinnati, the argument say, well, it's Cincinnati. They haven't won a game yet. But they played the Texans this week. The Texans are a good team. Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, I understand he's not playing right now, but those are some good players on a very good team, and the Ravens just made them look like fools out there.
That's what I think is most blown away. Texans have been dominant. Texans are a good team. They've proven that multiple times this season. But the Ravens came up, and they came up big and did not let up at all. And I think it just kind of left the Texans a little bit lost in the Ravens' offense.
I agree. Um, can we throw this one out here too, Shane, for the chat bar and for you as well? Our discussion on Lamar Jackson here and his talent as a quarterback. Shane, is he better than Patrick Mahomes? What do you think?
Oh, this is a tough, tough call.
However you answer, you might make some enemies.
I'm going to answer this in the most honest, real way that I can think of, and this is me personally. Both are great quarterbacks. In the air, I will say Patrick Mahomes is more dominant than Lamar Jackson. On the ground, Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Overall, it's a flip of a coin. I can't really decide that because Patrick Mahomes has proven that he can own teams with his high flying offense. Lamar Jackson has shown that he can be more versatile. I think is what I'm trying to say. Is that Lamar Jackson's a lot more versatile, while Patrick Mahomes is very high fly, high octane, going to throw it big, deep, and accurate. And I think they're both just probably the two best quarterbacks in the league right now. That and the third one I would have to throw in is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. With honorable mentions being Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson. Um, but yeah, I think I have to agree with you there. I think what helps Patrick Mahomes also, and again, I'm not saying that, oh, this is the only reason that Mahomes is good, but he does have almost like an all-star cast of receivers to throw to. Travis Kelce, LaShawn McCoy, Tyreek Hill, they're all really good players. But yet, it still comes from him to do the high-flying offense, to be able to throw accurate passes. And he is amazing when it comes to, in the air. But you're right. Lamar Jackson, the more versatile player. You don't know how to prepare for him. And I would say because of how he's been able to handle all defenses of teams this year, whether it's the Patriots or the Texans or even the Cincinnati Bengals, it definitely does make him a prime MVP candidate. But the last thing we should talk about before we move on is Shane, do you think the Texans are in trouble? Do you think they could lose their title seat? Do you think they could lose the opportunity to take the AFC South?
Well, right now, the Indianapolis Colts with the win over the Jaguars, they are currently the AFC South front runners. They are tied with
Mm-hmm.
wins for the Texans. I would say the Texans still have a chance to win it, but they gotta step on the gas and they gotta step on it hard to knock out these Colts from the top seat in the AFC South.
If these two came to a game against each other, which they will, who do you think would come out on top?
I think it would be close, and I don't want to disrespect either team because I have a lot of respect for both of them. I think the Texans would barely nudge it out, but it would be a close game within like 2 points of each other.
I agree with you. I really do. And this is crazy. Maybe we aren't fit for ESPN because I'm like, here, yes, go ahead, talk. Yes, I agree with you. But no, I do. I do. I think the Texans would be able to edge out the Indianapolis Colts just barely.
All right, but let's
Anyway,
move on to our
yeah.
next game. Falcons versus Panthers. You said 24-17 Falcons. I said 27-17 Falcons. Final score is 29-3 Falcons.
This was embarrassing for the Panthers. I mean, no, you can't say anything else about it. I think a lot of Carolina fans and the coaching staff, they're kind of just face palming on this one. It's just they couldn't get anything going there. And okay, I understand, and I'm not saying here that, it's all Carolina's fault, because the Falcons did really well. Matt Ryan, the coaching staff, they figured something out there in Atlanta, which they didn't have at the beginning of the season. But Shane, our one question that we have that we want to talk about with this game is, before a few weeks ago we were saying, well, okay, Carolina is going to stick with Kyle Allen as their starting quarterback, and Cam Newton is going to go somewhere else. We suggested the Broncos. We suggested the Bears. We suggested a bunch of different teams. Shane, do we need to go back to the drawing board here and just say that Carolina will start Cam Newton again next season?
I mean, I have a really good friend who is a die-hard Carolina Panther fan. And I know a lot of Panther fans, when Newton went out, they're like, Kyle Allen's amazing, and he was good in the beginning. But I saw a few things in him where I'm like, I don't trust him as a long-term quarterback. He is not the answer that you guys are looking for. And to me, I think this game proved he is not what they are looking for.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. There was something missing there with Kyle Allen, and now yes, he could get better. He really could. But man, oh man, maybe he just really doesn't have it at this point, and maybe they do need to keep Cam Newton around.
And I do want to say before we move on, Matt Ryan was out for a while with an injury. He's come back, and the Falcons have proven to be good. I just want to say I think a lot of the Falcons, in regards to Falcons winning games, I think Matt Ryan is probably the key piece with them winning a game. If he's gone, so is their game. If he's there, they have a chance.
Definitely. Most definitely. And so, yeah, it was all we can say in conclusion to how this matchup went. Good win for the Falcons. They should be clapping themselves on the back for that. And the Panthers, they're probably going to do a little bit of head scratching and some figuring out what they need to fix here.
All right, so next game, another division rival, Saints versus Buccaneers. You said 28-17 Saints. I said 28-21 Saints. Final score was 34-17 Saints.
I was close.
You were so close. You were a touchdown away.
Oh man.
But I want to say this was a pretty decent game, especially for a Saints team that has been dominant. What's your take on everything? And do you think the Saints are Super Bowl contenders?
That's an interesting question. Do I believe in the Saints in such a highly competitive NFC right now with so many really good teams? I'm not offending anyone here, but no. It sounds really sad to say because the Saints have been screwed over so many times in the playoffs, whether it's the Minneapolis Miracle or the questionable pass interference call that came last year in the NFC Championship game. But no, I think they're going to hit a wall when they play San Francisco or Seattle. I think they could be really good, but I don't see them as Super Bowl contenders. Shane, what do you think?
See, I have the opposite take. I think that they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I think they are going to have some tough games with the 49ers and the Seahawks down the road, but I think they might be able to nudge it out where they can get to the Super Bowl.
And that's the one positive thing that we really do have. Well, not the one positive thing. There are many positive things, but that is something that we can look forward to in the postseason, Shane, is some very, very talented teams that are going to be going into this postseason, especially in the NFC, where you're kind of thinking to yourself right now, oh man, any of these teams could take it.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to be a tough call with the NFC seeing who makes it to the Super Bowl. We don't have to worry about that for a few more weeks, but NFC is definitely going to be the side of the playoffs that you guys are probably going to want to watch or pay attention the most to.
Absolutely. Now, Shane, I will say this right now, and this will directly feed into our next game. Is on the AFC side, we can say that yes, the Patriots could make a run at the Super Bowl. So could the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe some of the other teams, but I haven't quite seen it yet. Now, on the NFC side, we've said the Saints, the Packers, the 49ers, the Seahawks. I'm throwing one more in there. I think the Vikings could do it. And the reason I think they could do it, going into our next game, Vikings versus Broncos, no team has ever been able to overcome a 20-point deficit until last Sunday, when the Vikings overcame that deficit against the Broncos and won that game. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I want to say, the Broncos had this game in the bag. I'm pretty sure everyone had this game in the bag. But Vikings came alive, and we saw a repeat of the Falcon-Patriots Super Bowl with the whole 28-3. I think the Broncos are gonna.
Oh yeah! Ouch!
No insult to the Falcons, but this is for diehard Falcons fan, if there are any out there. If they were watching this game, this had to bring back traumatizing flashback memories for them. They're like, "Oh no, it's happening again."
Yeah, honestly, this was every time. It was really funny, Shane, because I wasn't watching this game very closely, but I remember looking at the score and everything like that. Maybe watching a few plays here and there, and I saw that the Broncos were dominating And then all of a sudden I checked my phone. I checked my phone once and I'm like, oh, okay, well the Broncos are going to win that one. I check it again and I say to myself, what?
I had that
Am I in
exact
the
same
twilight?
thing.
It was awesome though. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of cool to see Minnesota overcome that deficit. And that is why I do believe they could go far in the playoffs. I don't have as much. Okay, now that does leave one more team that I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know about in the NFC. And that is the team, whichever team comes out in the NFC East, whether it's the Eagles or the Cowboys, which again just brings back to the point, Shane, the NFC postseason is going to be interesting.
Very much so. And I don't think we gave our score prediction, so I'm just going to throw this out real quick. You
Sure.
said
Yeah, you're right.
28-7 Vikings. I said 35-14 Vikings. As everyone can see, final score 27-23 Vikings. Really good game to watch overall.
Definitely. And the next game, also, Shane, there was a sort of an overcoming, a little bit of a comeback. This was in the 49ers versus Cardinals game. That's the next one we're talking about. My prediction, 27-21 49ers. Shane, your prediction was 28-7 49ers. Final score was 36-26 49ers. And the 49ers kind of just came back in the end. Jimmy G hung in there and was really just able to bring it home where the 49ers got their second win against Arizona. Shane, what are your thoughts on that? Because this game is interesting because, again, it just proves that, okay, the 49ers are still a competitive team, but do you think with Kyler Murray as the quarterback, there is more playoff future for the Cardinals?
I think in the future, it's definitely going to be a lot more in his court, and they do have a lot more potential. This season's going to kind of be a washout. In all honesty, I figured this was going to be like a fairly decent game to watch. I thought it was going to be more one-sided with the 49ers, but I did have my doubts. And the Cardinals are showing that they can put up a fight against a good team. So I think there is a future for the Cardinals. Maybe not this season, but possibly next season.
Right. All we can say here is Cardinals front office, make some changes with your defense and probably with your offensive line as well, and you could have a playoff contender in Arizona again.
But 49ers have held on. That's not too much that we're too surprised about. We've been saying that they've been the real deal for a while. Let's move on to our next game. Patriots versus Eagles. The big rematch that I think a lot of people were looking forward to.
And Shane, low scoring game. It was weird. And I don't know if I want to credit that more to the Eagles defense or to the Patriots lackluster offense.
You know, I just want to show this, and I've been saying this for a while. I do not think Tom Brady is that good of a quarterback, and he should retire any day now. And I think his stats showed it a little bit. I mean, he completed about half of his passes for only 216 yards. He's not. He's showing that he is aged and that he is not as dominant as he was.
Yeah, and the one touchdown that did come came from Julian Edelman as the quarterback, technically, not from Tom Brady.
So I honestly think Tom Brady might be on his way out the door. The Eagles suffered a tough loss in this big rematch, but I think that they can bounce back.
I think you're right. Shane, I'd also like to point out that I used the word lackluster and I didn't get any reaction. Come on, we use that word in every episode. What is this?
I mean, you said it for me. There was nothing for me to say anymore.
I guess so. I didn't get a chuckle out of you or anything, and I'm disappointed.
But, so, I don't think we said our predictions for it. You said 26-21 Patriots. I said 24-21 Eagles. Final score was 17-10 Patriots. Low scoring game. Lackluster game.
Aha.
But let's move on to another actually kind of lackluster game for you.
Same score, too. Bengals versus Raiders. The final score was 17-10, just like the Patriots versus Eagles game, which was a lot different than our predictions, which we had them up there a little high. We both predicted 35-13 with the Raiders. I guess the only things we want to say here, Shane, is the Raiders hung on for what you could consider an improbable playoff run, and the Bengals are officially eliminated from playoff contention.
They are the first
Shocker.
team eliminated from the from playoff contention, which I want to say midway beginning of the season, I think everyone was saying Dolphins are going to be the first ones eliminated, and it turned into the Bengals.
Definitely. It was a little bit more of a surprise towards the end with the Dolphins, managing to carve out 2 wins. But the Bengals, yes, okay, Ryan Finley as their rookie quarterback is probably their future. I don't expect them to hang on to Andy Dalton for next season. But it looks like at this point too, Shane, maybe Ryan Finley won't even be the starting quarterback, because what I'm guessing is if they get the number 1 pick in the draft, they're going for one of the quarterbacks.
And I would say that might be the best option. Ryan Finley has not proven to be good. Andy Dalton wasn't doing bad when he was the starting quarterback. I think that he has potential to go somewhere else and be a good quarterback for wherever he goes. Where he goes, no idea. But I think he has potential still in him.
Definitely. I think he needs to go into a different system, which we've talked about recently.
Yep. But
Bengals
got eliminated. Moving on. Bears versus Rams. I'm going to let you take over this, but I'm going to get the predictions out there. You said 16-12 Bears. I said 17-14 Bears. Final score was 17-7 Rams.
Yeah. Some of the things that I want to talk about here, first of which is one thing that needs to be pointed out, is at the very beginning of the game, Bears kicker woes continue. Eddie Pinheiro misses 2 field goal attempts, and it was further salt in the wound for me because my brother-in-law texted me and he said, maybe I should try out for the Bears kicking position, because that was awful. And if he had made those, man, that would have given the Bears a leg up that they needed. But the way that this game went, the Rams O-line came to life. They did a lot better in this game than they had in games previous. Jared Goff still continued to struggle through, I think, an interception or 2 in that game. But because of his struggles, they used the run game a lot more. Todd Gurley had a really big night, and it led somewhat to their victory there, because eventually Bears defense, going out on the field so much, got gassed, and it led to the Rams scoring a touchdown towards the end of the game. And on the other side, the reason that the Bears defense got gassed so quickly is, again, Mitchell Trubisky cannot make effective plays. He made a lot of really dumb plays that night, and it was really embarrassing for that to happen on prime time. Yes. Another thing to bring up, too, they said that he was injured, that he got injured in the second quarter, and that eventually they did pull him out towards the end of the 4th and put backup quarterback Chase Daniel in. There's been a lot of controversy over that. A lot of Bears fans aren't believing it. I myself have some doubts as to whether he is actually injured, or if they're finally saying, okay, this kid sucks, we've got to make some sort of change here. The only really big thing I think we need to talk about after recapping this game, Shane, is the Bears are 4-6 right now. And the Rams are 6-4 now. The Rams could still make a run at the wild card, but it's unlikely. The Bears are probably out because of how well the Vikings and the Packers are playing. But with Trubisky, with him having this injury, and for the tough schedule that they still have coming up, they still have to play the Chiefs and the Cowboys, the Packers again. Shane, how do we think this is going to end up for the Bears at the very end here?
I mean, do you need me to go with you to the funeral for the Bears season of this year?
Oh, sure, why not? I mean, it's been an incredibly disappointing season, and that is almost a bit of an understatement. It's been bad.
Well, like they always say, there's always next year. Hopefully, you guys can figure out some things on where you guys need to figure out. Hopefully, you guys get a decent kicker, which I've joked with you about a few times.
Oh, have you ever?
Nothing too bad, but getting a decent kicker, I think, would put you guys a lot better where you are right now.
Yeah, and then maybe some little change there with quarterback would be nice too. Maybe we keep Mitchell Trubisky, but maybe we do, what the Titans did, where Marcus Mariota has Ryan Tannehill along with him, and they kind of compete to see who gets the starting job there, and it gives him a little bit of an extra motivation. I don't know. We'll have to see what the offseason brings in store. But again, I don't want to get into that too much. We should finish off with our last game, our Monday Night Football that happened in Mexico City, Chiefs versus Chargers. Shane, my prediction, 23-21 Chargers. Your prediction, 32-30 Chargers. Final score was 24-17 Chiefs. You and I were both expecting it to go a lot the same way that it did last season when these two met, and it didn't. And why?
Philip Rivers had a really, really bad day. And I like Philip Rivers, but he throws 4 interceptions, and then I just want to say they could have gone into overtime. But he threw an
Yeah,
interception at the last minute, and in all honesty, this loss, I hate to say it, and it feels weird coming out of my mouth, is completely on Rivers for this one.
and it really did destroy any playoff chances. If they wanted to make a final run for the Chargers, it's tough. It's going to be a tough one, especially when it was so close and it just fell apart
it
at
just
the
slipped
end.
right through their fingertips. But other than that, Chiefs come out. It was a good win for the Chiefs. Not saying that the Chiefs were bad and that the Chargers were better. I thought this was going to be a close game. Rivers just had a really bad day, and that proved to be the downfall of the Chargers for this game.
Definitely. You hope that they can recover next week, but because they're on bye next week, so hopefully they get some stuff figured out. But we'll just have to see, right?
Right. So let's get into our predictions next week, and then we can have time for like a few minutes for the fun topic of this week. So let's kind of rapid fire these out a little bit. Colts versus
Definitely.
Texans, divisional game kicking off Thursday night football. Colts currently have the lead. This game will decide who is the current AFC South leader. They will put a win over everyone else in the AFC South. Who do you have?
I have the Texans 21-18.
You know, I want to say the Texans, and I think I'm going to go with the Texans, but I won't be shocked if the Colts come around and win it, but it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say it's actually going to be 28-27.
That covers up our Thursday one. Now we're going to go into our morning games for Sunday on November 24th. Buccaneers versus Falcons, another divisional game. Shane, who do you got?
You know, if the Falcons put on a show like they did last week, I'm going to say Falcons are going to take it. Score's probably going to be 28-17.
I'll take that with you, with the Falcons winning. I'll agree with you on that one. Broncos versus Bills is our next one. This one might be a little bit more interesting, assuming if the Broncos still have any life left in them. I'm still going to go with Buffalo on this, but again, maybe a little bit more of a close game. I'm going to say final score 21-17 Bills.
I'm going to say Bills as well. They're going to ride off a little bit more more momentum, so I'm going to say the final score is going to be 24-14.
Okay. Next up is New York Giants versus the Chicago Bears. I have the Bears on this one, but I am actually going to keep it a bit of a close game. I think what the final score is going to be actually is 17-14 Bears.
Really? You think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game?
This depends a lot, of course, Shane, if Mitchell Trubisky is actually injured and it's Chase Daniel as the starting quarterback. But again, I also think that the Giants might be able to take it to him a little bit more. And I also say that because the Giants did beat the Bears last year when they had their dominant 12-4 season. Yes, they had to do it in overtime, but who knows? They still have Saquon Barkley. He is still Saquon Barkley, even though he did have a bad game last week. I think it will be close. I think the Bears will take it in the end.
You know, and I'm going to give a different opinion, and I hope I'm wrong on this just because I would rather have the Bears win. I'm going to say the Giants are going to win, mainly with Chase Daniel. If Chase Daniel's going to be in, I'm definitely going to go with the Giants on this. If Trubisky was in, I would probably say the Bears. But with Daniel, I'm going to say Giants are going to take it 24-17.
There you have it. Let's see. We have a few more early morning games. We have the Steelers versus Bengals, another division game. I got the Steelers on this one, with it being final score 27-10.
I think I'm going to ride with you on that exact same prediction for the main reason the Bengals are up, and Duckmaster says Steelers rebound with 24-10 for this game.
He's really close to what we were saying. He was
I
really
mean, I
close.
was thinking Steelers might do a 24-10. I mean, that wasn't flowing my head, but I think I'm going to stick with you on this one, McKay.
28-10. So maybe we're giving them a little bit more. But yeah, you're right. I think the Steelers are going to rebound from this, and especially against a team like Cincinnati. Oh yeah, this is going to be a good game for
A team
them.
that's been eliminated already, they have no hopes of going anywhere. I think the Bengals are going to start packing up their bags, and Steelers are going to have a little bit of an easier win.
Agreed. Next one, Dolphins versus Browns. Shane, I got the Browns on this one, but I think the Dolphins might keep it kind of close. I got the final score being 21-17 with the Browns taking it.
And this is going to be probably the biggest gamble that I think I'm ever going to do on this podcast. Dolphins are going to take it 28-10.
Oh, okay. All right.
I told you, this is a big gamble, but I don't know. I have a feeling the Dolphins are going to show up a little bit this week.
All right. I like it. Panthers versus Saints is our next one. This is another division rivalry game. Although the Panthers, I'm sure they are going to want to try and make some improvements here, but New Orleans is good. I mean, Drew Brees is back. Alvin Kamara is back. I mean, I got New Orleans on this one, and I might say it's another blowout game too, with it being 28-7 final score. New Orleans takes it.
I'm going to say New Orleans takes it, but I'm going to say it's going to be 38-17.
Ouch. Oof. Yeah. Okay. Real high scoring game. If that's the case. Man, we got a lot of
morning games.
I keep thinking, we're getting down to it with the end with the morning games, but no, we're not. We're not. But okay, so our next one is Raiders versus Jets. And Shane, let's hear yours first.
I'm going to say this is going to be a close game. I'm going to say the Raiders are going to take it because they're still fighting for that wild card spot, and they have a good chance to get it. It's going to be close. I'm going to say the final score is going to be 24-21.
Okay. A big one for me. I'm going to go with New York on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the realm of possibility at this point.
I'm going to say the same score as you, but with New York winning rather than Oakland.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to see, because that's going to be a pretty close game. I think it's going to be a good game to watch.
I agree. And it'll be interesting to see how the Raiders kind of go about it. I mean, because it was a close one against Cincinnati, if you ask me. Now, I understand that, they might be a little bit more serious here. Maybe they'll look to be like, okay, maybe we should probably fix it. But it will be in New York. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah, you really do never know. All right, so what's our next game?
Seahawks versus Eagles is our next one.
Oh boy, I want to hear your prediction on this one.
Oh man, this is a tough one. I think this could be a really good game. I'm not gonna lie. This might be. It's up there as far as what I think will be one of the best games of this week. But for this one, I got to go with Seattle on it, even though it is being played in Philadelphia. And my score prediction being final score 28-21 Seahawks.
I'm going to say Seahawks as well. I think it's going to be a little bit bigger of a game. I'm going to say 28-14.
Okay. And then this is our last morning game. It's Lions versus Redskins. It will be in Detroit. Even without Matthew Stafford, I still got the Lions on this one, with the final score being 22-13.
See, and I want to say Lions, but I think I'm going to go with the Redskins on this one to give it a different take.
Oh my gosh, you say the Redskins every week.
Here's the thing. The Redskins are proved to be wildly inconsistent. They keep good teams in a close range, and then teams turns out to be a blowout. I gotta be right at least once with the Redskins. I'm hoping it'll be this week with the Lions. It's gonna be close, 17-14.
All right. All right. That'll be interesting to see because if you do get this wrong, that'll be the third or fourth time you have gone with Washington to win.
And after that point, I'm done for the season. I don't care they're 100% favorite to win. I'm not picking them anymore.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Your focus is going to be more on that first afternoon game, though. Another division matchup with the Jaguars and the Titans.
Our biggest
Shane,
rival.
Yeah, who do you have for that one? This is going to be interesting.
Jaguars will either flash one week or they will drop a bomb another week. I'm gonna stick with my boys. I feel like they can win this one because we have been bad against the Titans, but this season was like the first time that we beat the Titans in like 5+ years, so I think we can keep the momentum going with that. I'm gonna say it's going to be 21-17.
Okay. Just because of the little bit of the trying to find a rhythm with Nick Foles, and just to offer a different take, I am going to go with the Titans on this. If I get it wrong, great. I would love to be proven wrong on this. But I'm going to go with Tennessee on this. Final score being 27-24.
Yeah, I know, in all honesty, before we move on to the next one, I can see that being a giant blowout game one way or the other.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we've kept it kind of close, but it also could end up being that way with it's like just a huge, oh, wow, okay, well, that team ran away with it.
All right, and then for our second afternoon game, Cowboys versus Patriots.
Oh, I don't like this.
I think between the two of us, these are our least favorite teams going against each other.
My stomach is churning right now, Shane.
Okay, I want to say to any Patriots fans out there, because I know a few, and I like them I like these people. They're really awesome and cool. I'm not the biggest Patriots fans because I feel like everyone's just a giant bandwagon fan with the Patriots just because they've been good, and to me that's just kind of annoying. That's the main reason I don't like the Patriots, because most of the fans there are complete fakes and don't care.
Shane, it's funny that you say that, though, because the reason I don't like the Dallas Cowboys is because of their fan base, but not because their fan base is bandwagoning. I mean, the Cowboys haven't won a ring since the 90s, but it's more just because the amount of Dallas Cowboy fans that I have met in my life, and I've met quite a few, they are so obnoxious. They just go on and on and on about how amazing their team is and how it's their year every year. And then there's almost like this pure shock when all of a sudden, oh, guess what? The Cowboys are not Super Bowl contenders. And then their common fallback is, oh, whatever. Well, we have 5 rings. We them boys. And, it grinds my gears. I don't hate them as much as Stephen A. Smith does, but oh, man. Yeah, I do not like Cowboys fans, and that I have made abundantly clear in this podcast. So because of that, I am going with New England on this one, and I am going to hope in this case that New England blows them out. Finals, well, not much of a blowout, but still close, 27-10.
You want to know something that's going to be really funny about this?
You're going to say the exact opposite with Dallas winning.
I'm going to say Cowboys are going to win it. We're taking each other's. I'm taking the Cowboys and you hate them. I hate the Patriots and you're taking them. This will be a fun matchup. I'm going to say it's going to be close. I'm going to say it's going to be close because, in my opinion, and I've said this multiple times, Brady is not doing well. And I think that's going to be what the downfall is of this game. I think the Cowboys are going to take it, but it's going to be like 24-21.
All right. That was awesome. I'm sorry. I lost my cool there for a little bit.
I mean, let's look at this logistically. The Eagles just played the Patriots and kept it very low scoring and could have won it. Cowboys are currently, as much as I hate to say it, are at the top of the Eagles division. So I think the Cowboys could potentially beat them, but this could be an interesting game to watch.
It could be. It really could be. And that would make sense why it's an afternoon game. But the more interesting game, Shane, is going to be Sunday night football with Packers and 49ers, the top two NFC teams right now. Shane, who do you got?
Oh, man. I think I'm going to go with the Packers on this one.
So am I.
You know what? Because you're saying it, because I am very much on the fence on this, I'm going to stick with the 49ers.
All right.
I will say the 49ers to give that different take. I'm going to say it's going to be a high-scoring game, in my opinion. I'm going to say 30... Oh, 35 to 30. No, that's too high. 28 to 29.
Oh, that's not far off from what I was thinking. I'm thinking more 26 to 24. I think here's my reasoning for this is because the 49ers have a really good defense, whereas the Packers one isn't as great, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and so I think he'll kind of come up for that, and so that's why I think the Packers will take it. But the reason I'm not going for a high scoring game is because the Packers their defense is known to have flashes of brilliance, and there is a lot of talent on that defensive side for the 49ers.
I agree. All right, Monday Night Football, Ravens versus Rams. Who you got?
Baltimore, all the way. I believe in Lamar Jackson, whereas the Rams, I mean, come on, they struggled against the Chicago Bears. This is weird, Shane. I literally just said, the Packers are going to win. Go Packers. And I'm bad-mouthing my own team. But that's just how bad the plight of this season is for Chicago, in my opinion.
Everything is crazy in the NFL right now. I'm going to be with you with the Ravens winning. What's your score prediction?
I think the Ravens are going to run away with it again. I'm saying final score is 27-9.
See, they're going to run away with it, but I think it's going to be like 35-10. And I want to know, what, so we got all of our predictions out of the way. Before we move on to For the Fun, what is the game to watch for this week?
Hold up 1 second. We gotta backtrack here.
Okay.
I literally missed all of that. For some reason, my microphone cut out. I am so sorry. That was so weird.
No, you're fine. Let's backtrack. So, I got my predictions in for the Ravens versus Rams. What was your comment?
I didn't have a comment because literally I didn't catch any of your thing. Like all of a sudden I lost you. I didn't hear anything of what you said. So, yeah, it was really weird. What was your prediction?
My prediction is 35-10. Ravens take it.
Okay, cool. Not too far off from mine, but you're just giving a little bit of a higher score.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll give the Rams a touchdown and a field goal instead of just 3 field goals.
Right. Now, answering your question about what do I think the game of the week is going to be, I'm either going to look at the Thursday night football matchup between the Colts and the Texans or the Sunday night football matchup between the 49ers and the Packers. It's one of those two games, guaranteed.
You know, I'm going to throw in a third one for you. Jaguars versus Titans. AFC South is going to be battling it all out this weekend. And they have like the most to ride if they want to make it to the playoffs. Every single team is very much in contention right now. And every single one of them is in a must-need win scenario. So I think if you want to see a good, like, classic football match with decent teams, definitely a good way to fill your Sunday morning or Thursday night, Sunday afternoon. But probably the best game of the week will be that Packers and 49ers game.
I think you're right. Yeah, and that's sort of there's a few different games that we have to look forward to here. And I think, again, it's going to be another exciting week, some good stuff. And that wraps it up as far as our predictions here, which leads us to the opportunity to go into our For the Fun topic. But Shane, we do need to tell our listeners, we need to give them a little bit of a heads up for next week. Care to lead in with that?
Yes, so next week we will not be having our weekly scheduled podcast. I'm going to be out of town traveling from Utah to Northern California to visit my in-laws for Thanksgiving. And plus, at the same time, like, as much fun as this is, it is nice to be able to, for everyone to not, who wants to listen to us or wants to watch us, to be able to take a break and actually spend time and focus on spending time with family. So, nothing the next week. We'll come back the week after, which I'm pulling up my calendar right now just to make sure of the day. Will be the first week of December, and we'll try to do a quick run through of this next week, followed with the week after.
Absolutely. And this isn't really a bad idea for like as you said, Shane. I mean, it's good for all of us here to spend time with our families, during that time on Thanksgiving and to really enjoy the festivities of that. And, people, I mean, there's nothing wrong with well, what I mean to say here is, there's still going to be plenty of opportunities to watch football. I mean, we have 3 games that are going to be going on Thanksgiving. And truth be told, Shane, I am somewhat bummed that we won't be talking about it because Thanksgiving Day is my actual favorite day in the NFL. For some reason, I just really enjoy the atmosphere. First of all, it's Thanksgiving, you're with your family, the Christmas season's starting to roll in, and you have 3 football games all in one day.
It's definitely a good day for football.
It definitely is, and we'll recap that, as we go into our next podcast, where we kind of just go over just a little bit of how the week's been playing out and where the teams are kind of sitting at that point. But ultimately, as we go into December, with it coming towards the end of the season, Shane, you and I will be talking a lot more about, okay, who are the teams that are going to be going to the playoffs? We'll kind of start talking about the other teams a lot less, don't you think?
I definitely agree. Our playoff picture is going to... So, that actually leads into our For the Fun topic, and I'm going to go ahead and post that for everybody, is who's in, who's out, how is this going to play out, and I think when we come back from that 1-week hiatus, we're going to have a lot more narrowed down playoff picture, and it's going to be so much fun to talk about, so much fun to discuss.
Definitely. What we're doing here with this For the Fun topic, and I'll kind of lead off with it here, Shane, and then you give your prediction afterwards, is Shane and I are basically going to construct our brackets for how the AFC and the NFC are going to play out in playoffs, ultimately to who we think are going to go to the Super Bowl. Now, in my case, I'm not going to say who I think is going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm going to say who the 2 teams are that are going to the Super Bowl. So for the AFC, the 1 seed, I've got the Patriots. The 2 seed, I've got the Ravens. The 3 seed, I've got the Chiefs. The 4th seed, I have the Texans. The first wildcard seed, I'm giving to the Buffalo Bills. The 6th seed, I am giving to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, in the situation with the AFC, what I am expecting to have happen is, of course, first, the Bills and the Texans play each other, with the Texans coming out on top in the wild card game. The same being for the Chiefs and the Steelers, with the Chiefs coming out on top, which would mean the Chiefs play the Patriots. I believe the Patriots will win out, and the Ravens will win out against the Texans. Ultimately, with the AFC Championship game being the Ravens versus the Patriots, I think the Ravens will come out on top and go to the Super Bowl. For the NFC, I've got the 49ers in the 1st seed, the Packers in the 2nd seed, the Saints in the 3rd seed, and the Philadelphia Eagles in the 4th seed. The first wild card spot will go to the Seattle Seahawks. The second one will go to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings will play the Saints. The Saints will win. The Eagles will play the Seahawks. The Seahawks will win. The Seahawks will play the 49ers. The 49ers will win. And the Packers will play the Saints. And I'm going to say the Saints will win. So it'll be the Saints versus the 49ers for the NFC Championship game, with, in my opinion, the 49ers winning it, ultimately culminating in a Ravens versus 49 Super Bowl, the exact same matchup that we had a few years ago. Only difference being, Joe Flacco is not the Baltimore Ravens quarterback. He's sort of almost a down but not quite out quarterback. And 49ers quarterback was Colin Kaepernick. He's not even in the league anymore. Instead, we're seeing 2 really talented upcoming, we're still waiting to see what the rest of their future is between Jimmy Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson. That is my prediction right there. Shane, let's hear it.
Yours is a lot more formulated than mine so far. I'm like halfway through because I'm still like trying to pick everything. But as of right now, so I'll start with the AFC. Number one seed overall, I'm gonna say it's the Ravens.
All right.
Patriots are gonna take number two. Chiefs are gonna take number three, and I'm gonna say the Texans take number four. Wild card though,
Yep.
wild card is going to be the Buffalo Bills, and this is where I'm torn, and either the Indianapolis Colts or the Oakland Raiders.
Aha, nice.
So just to kind of make mine a little bit shorter in the AFC final, because that's where I'm going to be mainly caring about because my team's out. I wouldn't mind seeing a Ravens. Oh, and I'm gonna say Texans because Deshaun Watson, he's going to win the war.
Bringing up another Gridiron Heights reference there.
Oh yes. I think Deshaun Watson, I think that is his actual mentality right now, where he is like, we are going to win this war between us. It's going to be us two in the AFC finals, and we're going to win it. So I'm thinking Texans and Ravens fighting it out. Who's going to win? I'm going to say Ravens are probably going to win it again. As for the NFC, though, number one seed, and this is going to surprise you, I think. Number one seed, I'm going to say it's the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, all right.
Number two, Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, yeah, you're okay.
Number three, the New Orleans Saints. And then number four, the Eagles. Wild card spot is going to be 49ers and the Packers.
Ow.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bold with it. This is why I said, like, I'm still forming half of this because it's mainly the NFC West and NFC North where I'm, like, trying to take the closest look at it as possible. And I see both those teams coming out and taking that number one spot. In the finals, and this is what I just hope to see, but it's probably not going to happen, I would love to see a Seahawk 49er final for the NFC West.
That would be cool.
Just because I want to see who is going to be the ultimate. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily, but if that happens, I'm going to be so happy. That's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm going to say, though, the Seahawks are going to take it and face the 49ers in the Super, or not the 49ers, face the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
You know what? I would kill for that kind of game because it would be really cool to see.
I mean, the main reason I want to see that game, we talked a lot about this. Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, top two MVP candidates, with a few others in tow as well. But two very strong MVP candidates coming in to duke it out for the Super Bowl would be a great game to watch.
And I absolutely agree. I think you would kind of also establish between the two, like who is more deserving of perhaps the MVP award. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah. And I mean, like we said before, more than welcome to hear what you guys are starting to think the playoffs are going to look like. And we'll post this in the Discord. I'm actually going to try to do it right now. That way I don't forget.
With that really wraps up our podcast for this week. I mean, and like we said, we won't be having one next week. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break. But again, we've gotten a lot of comments tonight. Everyone, thank you for what you've said. We've got a lot of questions that we've also put out there that we'd love to hear responses from, either on Twitch or on Discord, preferably on Discord. We have quite a bit of a board there set up for questions like that. Please feel free to give us your opinion. We love hearing it, and it's honestly what makes the podcast more fun. Wouldn't you agree, Shane?
I would definitely agree. And it's super easy to follow us. Just click on the heart on Twitch. We also have a YouTube channel, which this episode should be going up tomorrow, morning, afternoon. So if you're looking at Eastern Standard Time, it's probably be around right around lunchtime. So perfect time to sit down, listen to some good football talk. We have a link to our YouTube channel. We have a link to our Discord. All you need to do is just scroll down a little bit on the Twitch homepage and just either click on that YouTube link or click on that Discord link, and you can start chatting with us there. And I mean, I get notified when I get Discord messages, so I know that I will definitely be on there. And we do, and you said we had quite a big board. I just want to say, we have a really big board, which the more people we get into it, the bigger it's going to grow, the more fun it's going to be, and everyone's going to have fun. We have literally a whole section dedicated to each and every single one of the 32 teams in the NFL for you to join in there and just post whatever you want about how good your team is and how much you love your team.
Absolutely. And it's looking a little dead in there, at least in our Discord. Most of the comments are coming on Twitch. We'd love to be getting it more on the side of, what we'll be seeing in Discord. So
invite your friends, have them watch, have them listen, have them join in on the fun, and just debate football, because that's honestly one of the most fun things to do is take something that you're passionate about, especially with how competitive football is, and just talk about it with other people who love it just as much as you do.
absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Everyone, thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Shane, thank you as always.
No problem. Thank you for doing this with me as well. And we will see you guys in December.
And towards the end, getting into the postseason, getting around Christmas time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. But we'll see you then.
See you in 2 weeks, guys.